Hey friendlies, I'm Carolyn. Welcome back to my RV life. So UFOs have been in the news a lot lately. A lot. There was a 60 Minutes episode about UFOs where very respected and senior military officials, Air Force, I believe, right? Because they were flying. I know that there are planes in other branches of the military, but I think they might have been Air Force. They saw something really strange. They got footage of it. They showed it on 60 Minutes. And now there's even a report going to Congress about UFOs. You know, and what is it, Area 54? Area 52? Area 51. Area 51 has been around forever. There's been a lot of speculation about whether or not there's something else out there, right? And a lot of you have asked me all the time that I spend outdoors and in remote places, have I ever seen a UFO? So today, I don't know that I've ever talked about this before. So today I'm going to tell you what I've seen, and we'll talk about UFOs.
There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to find your own.
So I have been racking my brain. So I have two very strange, still, I can't explain. There's nothing rational, really, that can explain two major sightings that I've had. One is Bigfoot in Alaska, and if you don't remember me talking about that, I'm going to put a link up here if you're on your laptop. I'll also put a link in the video description so that you can hear about my Bigfoot experience, whatever. I still, to this day, I've been watching Bigfoot shows. I saw one, big hairy man, I think is what they call it, in Alaska. There's no other explanation for what I saw. It's very strange. I ask, why me? But that's that. And then I feel like there's other things that I have seen in the sky, but I guess they've all been explained except for one. I mean, I've seen Starlink. Recently I saw, is it Starlink? I saw the string of lights and I was like, what the heck is that? And I think I did a video and you guys told me about that. I've seen the launches or the coming back in of SpaceX, and I've seen airplanes. But I still feel like there are a couple other things that I've seen that I'm not remembering. But the one incident that I absolutely positively do remember seeing was a backpacking trip. It was probably 2016. I believe it was one of my practice hikes for the John Muir Trail. And if you guys don't know, I hiked the John Muir Trail. That was my first major hike, 256 miles on mostly the John Muir Trail. I did a little extra, and Mount Whitney. And I wrote a blog about it if you want to check that out. So I think it was one of my practice hikes. I was alone, backpacking in Bucks Wilderness in California. And I was sitting outside just eating dinner, relaxing. I don't even think I was like relaxing looking at the stars yet, because I was eating, and I remember something catching, and it was dark, so I must not have been eating. I don't remember. Anyway, I don't know if I was just sitting there. I don't know what I was doing, but I remember I wasn't looking straight at it. I remember seeing something out of the corner of my eye, out of my peripheral vision, and I looked and I saw this big bright light drop. I mean, it just like went straight vertically down onto the horizon, and it really didn't look that far away, like a hill, over yonder. And I think I saw it drop like out of the corner of my eye, or just the last second of it drop. And then it hovered for like not very long at all, and then it zoomed in the opposite direction. Really big, very steady, no blinking lights. And it was, it was probably like this big in the sky. Big enough that it wasn't an airplane. Or it couldn't have been. And then what was really weird is I literally watched it go in a straight line in the opposite direction. The light never flickered. It just was like an orb, like a globe of light that just went very steadily in the opposite direction. I watched it go for a long time. I watched it go, it went and went and went and went and went, never moved up or down, sideways, just in one straight, and it continued to be bright, but of course it got smaller the further away it went. And it went fairly quickly. It wasn't an airplane. I mean, I've seen, especially now that I've lived in my RV long enough, I've seen enough airplanes. They flicker, they have red lights. This was way too big. So that's really the one flying unidentified object that I have seen. I saw the walking one. That's unidentified flying. OW. Wait, UW. UFO. UWO. Unidentified walking object is what I saw in Alaska. So that, at least that I can remember, that's the one that sticks with me the most. I feel like there have been other like strange things that I've seen, but I can't recall them, or maybe in the end I was able to identify them. But that was the weirdest thing. And I still, to this day, everything that I have seen in the sky, you know, in more backpacking trips and in my RV life, you know, and it's not like I spend a lot of time outside in my RV life. I was thinking about that this morning. You know, I mean, it's no fun sitting around a campfire by yourself, so I don't really do that very often. Once in a blue moon, I do lay in bed and look at the stars and look outside. Not so much anymore, because that's where Sadie sleeps. She's like, wow, that was a snort. And so she kind of takes my space by the window now. But that is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. And so what does it mean? Do I believe in UFOs? So the thing with the 60 Minutes report that I saw, the one thing that really stuck with me, and I don't know why in that case in particular, was just the concern that it might be an adversary, that it might be something of this planet. It might be China. It might even be Russia. That it might be some other country that has intelligence that we don't have, and that they have had it for a long time. But then I started thinking, you know, the United States has been leaders for decades in technology and exploration and space exploration. My thought about that is it would be hard for me to believe that they came up with a technology like China or Russia that the United States intelligence or military couldn't even fathom. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one thing for another country to come up with something that the United States hasn't thought about yet, or hasn't even, you know, had the chance to develop yet. That's one thing. But to create something that United States intelligence can't even fathom, that's something else altogether. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? So while there's a part of me that's still thinking it must be another government, it must be somebody else testing out technology that we aren't aware of. But then again, my logical side of me says it's hard to believe that there's something out there that how could somebody else come up with something that we can't even fathom? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. But of course, what was I watching recently? Something else. Maybe it was a Bigfoot thing where your mind, the human mind, needs to make sense of things. I think it's safety for one thing, or we try to gather all of our information, some conscious, some not conscious. We try to gather quickly, like compute everything that we're seeing. And in order to understand it, we put things together to make it make sense. Does that make sense? So like when I thought I saw Bigfoot, I was like, it's got to be a guy in a snowmobile suit. It was not that cold out and there was no snow, or it had to be a bear walking on its hind legs. Even though all of the videos I saw of bears walking on their hind legs, that's not what it looked like. It made no sense. But that's what we as humans do. We try to make sense of things even when they don't make sense. I think that's why we have religion. Maybe, you know. And so that's what I think. I think that, okay, I wanted to do this in one take. So while on one hand, logically, my little brain is trying to put together what has happened and what those people have seen and what I have seen and what other people have seen. I want to put that together in a way that makes sense. I'm starting to think more and more, I guess as more of this comes out, that there really is probably something else going on that's not of Earth. That is, and I've said this for a long time. I think it's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Full of yourself? What's the word conceited? That's not the word I'm looking for. But we're a little full of ourselves, I think, to think that we're the only ones. The universe is vast. There's so much about what's going on up there and out there that our scientists and our most brilliant minds still don't understand. So to think that we're the only living beings in the entire universe, I think is a little, what the heck is the word? It'll come to me in editing and I'll probably put it here. You know, my 50, how old am I? 53-year-old brain. So I think it's a little not righteous. Anyway, it's a little that of us to think that we're the only ones on the in the universe. And you know, I've had theories that I've played around with before that even that humanity is here as an experiment by some alien being, that they, you know, life on this planet Earth has been wiped out a couple of times by different environmental things, you know, the Ice Age and the Bronze Age or whatever, you know, I'm not a scientist or anything, but life, not human, but life has been wiped out on the planet a couple of times. What if there was human life before? And the aliens were like the petri dish of these aliens. I always think of us like a snow globe or like an ant farm on some alien kid's shelf. And they keep like replanting us here, hoping we'll get it right. And maybe that's why they're appearing again, because we're screwing up the planet so bad. We haven't gotten it right yet. We're killing each other. We're screwing up the planet. And they keep hoping to maybe create a perfect being. And we keep failing. And maybe that's why they're showing up again. So much more obvious than they usually do, because they're about ready to wipe us off again to start over. It's just a fun theory that I've had. So anyway, yeah, you guys have wanted to know my thoughts and my experiences, and that's the one thing that I can remember seeing in the sky at night, something really strange. I'm sure I've seen other weird things on backpacking trips, but that's the one that really stands out. And do I think that there's a possibility of life on other planets? Absolutely. Absolutely. Vain, is that the word I'm looking for? I'm not that vain, that's not the word. To think that we're the only ones out there. And it'll be interesting to see what the Congress conclusion is of the investigation and the UFO report that they're going to get. So those are my thoughts. That's my experience. I want to hear yours. What experiences do you guys have with seeing unidentified things flying around the sky at night? When I started researching Art Bell, because he's from Pahrump, Nevada, I listened to, I think Bob told me about him, a couple of you guys told me about him. You know, he was a kind of on the fringe, midnight radio guy, had really interesting, fascinating, thought-provoking guests on. He said one night when he was coming home with his wife in Pahrump that he saw something above in the sky that he couldn't, for the life of him, explain. And when enough logical, reasonable, sane people start saying they've seen something, there's something there. So what have you seen? I want to hear your stories. Tell me below what you have seen. And if you haven't seen anything, or you have, what do you think? Do you think we're alone in the universe? What do you think this report is going to tell? And yeah, so I want to hear from you. Let me know. I'll see you Sunday night with some fun videos. Hot springs. I think I'm going to do the hot springs video. Hot springs on Sunday night. So stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. In the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. I'll see you soon.